So it's interesting. If you really pay attention to LinkedIn, they tell you exactly what to do. So under discovery, which is a part that you'll see on your LinkedIn profile, they're always giving you tips and tricks. And so under discovery, all the time, you'll see something that says people who post to LinkedIn one time a week get 4x more reach than people who don't, which is great, right? So that's telling you right there, you should at least post one time a week.
Welcome to the Agents of Change, the podcast experience you've been waiting for your entire marketing career. Search, social, mobile, AI, blockchain, and neuromarketing. These are the Agents of Change, and so are you. Digital marketing success awaits, and your transformation begins now.
Welcome to another episode of the Agents of Change podcast, the podcast that helps you reach and engage more of your ideal customers online. My name's Rich Brooks, I'm your host, and this is episode 546, brought to you by the 10th annual Agents of Change Digital Marketing Conference, coming this October 9th and 10th to Portland, Maine. If you're a B2B marketer like me, then you know that LinkedIn is where you need to be when it comes to social media. But you may also know that you can always be doing it better. That's what I realized when I was chatting with my friend and agency mastermind cohort, Brooke Sellas. I had seen how she was crushing it on LinkedIn, but I learned even more when she started breaking down her strategy for me one day. I put the brakes on that conversation and asked her instead to share all of those findings with you, bringing her back on the podcast for a third time. But trust me, she's worth it. Before we get to that, I fielded some questions this past week about the 10th Annual Agents of Change Digital Marketing Conference, and more specifically, what are the deep dive workshops all about? The conference takes place on Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. We'll have 15 digital marketing experts, keynotes, breakout sessions, and networking opportunities. We'll feed you breakfast, lunch, and pizza during our networking event that follows the day. But if you really want to dig deeper, if you really want to quickly upskill to be the best digital marketer you can be, you'll want to check out the deep dive workshops on Thursday, October 10th. This is where the rubber hits the road. These are half-day workshops led by some of the same digital marketing experts who are presenting at the conference. These sessions are hands-on, and unlike the conference, they're not recorded. You have to be in the room where it happens. Cue that song from Hamilton. We've got 3 concurrent workshops in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. The morning workshops include short-form video like TikTok Reels, etc., led by Kenya Kelly, AI in a Day, led by Chris Carr, and LinkedIn Ads, led by AJ Wilcox. The afternoon workshops include AI Video Mastery with Lou Bortone, How to Create the Perfect Marketing Strategy with John Jantz, and Facebook Ads with Amanda Robinson. What's that? There are 2 sessions at the same time that you want to attend? Well, bring a friend. Then you can compare notes afterward. These are small classroom settings, so you'll have plenty of time to get your questions answered by our workshop leaders. These workshops are $300 at the door, an amazing value for all you get, but you can save $50 by purchasing them now with a conference ticket or a VIP pass. And don't forget, through the month of August, you can save $100 off the cost of either your conference ticket, your VIP pass, or even the digital pass. And because you're a loyal listener to this podcast, just use the discount code AOCP during checkout, and you can save an additional $25. That's $175 savings, and even more if you grab both a morning and an afternoon workshop. Trust me, I'll be sitting in these workshops because this is where all the deep learning happens. I'll save you a seat. Now, let's dive into the strategies and tactics that will make you a superstar on LinkedIn. My guest today is back for her 3rd time on the Agents of Change podcast, so you just know that she's got some dirt on me. No, obviously, it's because she's the real deal. She is shaping the future of digital marketing one conversation at a time. As an award-winning CEO, she's the visionary behind B Squared Media, a boutique digital marketing agency that's redefining social care for industry giants such as Brother International, Endless Pools, and BCU. Dive into her insights on the pages of her book, Conversations That Connect, or from one of her two digital marketing courses that she teaches at the University of California, Irvine. I am excited to bring back my good friend, my fellow agency mastermind cohort, and all-around expert, Brooke Sellas. Brooke, welcome back to the show.
Hello. Your secrets are in the vault. I'll never share.
I appreciate that. Okay, this interview is over. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So as I'm looking at your bio here, the one you sent me and not the one that I ad-libbed, but I noticed that it doesn't include your Brooks Bites, your video vignettes that you post to LinkedIn, nor does it mention your popular web show, The Marketing Agency Show, which is produced by Social Media Examiner. It also doesn't mention your love of horses either. How do you get so much done?
I don't know. This is my clone. Brooke's asleep somewhere like in a pod or something. No, I love what I do. And I think, it's cliche, but when you love what you do, it just is easy to say yes to most things, not all things. I say no strategically, but I love doing what I do. So I say yes a lot.
All right. Well, today I asked you to come back on the show because I want to talk to you about LinkedIn and your B2B strategy, what we can all learn from you on that. Because from my perspective, you are absolutely crushing it on LinkedIn. Plus, you're always dropping these amazing insights during our agency mastermind sessions. What do you feel is the most effective B2B strategy on LinkedIn right now?
Right now, LinkedIn is running or have introduced what they call thought leader ads or thought leader advertising. And essentially what they're doing is they're encouraging companies and brands to build brand equity by sponsoring thought leader posts. So a thought leader could obviously be Rich for Agents of Change, or Rich for Flight Media, or Brooke for B Squared Media. But there's so many use cases that I've been thinking of as we've been testing out these ads. But essentially, we're doing these tests right now to amplify our sales efforts. I'm the only salesperson on our team. So to me, it's a really interesting take that LinkedIn, above all of the other platforms, is investing in this because they're basically saying that they realize people want to connect with people, not with brands. So I feel like this is a really interesting way to start to run some sort of paid media on LinkedIn.
So I did want to talk to you about the thought leadership ad. So let's just dive into that right now. So tell me a little bit, break down for me what you're doing on your thought leadership ads. Are you creating organic posts first and then you're just kind of boosting them? Or is it more like you've created a whole layout for this is what's going on for the month of July, August, September, and these are the ads we're running? Just walk me through how you're making all those decisions.
Yeah. So we came up with a plan to start just with engagement. So obviously, like many other advertising platforms, you get to pick what your goal is. So our goal that we've been picking for B Squared Media through Brooke Sellas is engagement. And one of the things we started with was our social media mystery shop, which is a digital product that we have. So I posted kind of a story about back in the day when I was in real estate, we used to get shopped with like hidden cameras that were in people's glasses or their buttons, and how I was always so scared to get shopped. But it was one of the biggest learning tools that we had to deliver a better customer experience when somebody came in to tour the apartments. So I likened that to our social media mystery shop. And then we ran the thought leadership ad. So it's a boosted ad through B Squared Media of Brooke's content. We essentially ran it for a week on my LinkedIn profile, and we spent a total of $70, which is actually really cheap for LinkedIn. So we got 112 engagements. And so that equaled out to about 63 cents per engagement, which is also very cheap for LinkedIn. And we got over 2,000 impressions. So the ad definitely worked in boosting engagements, but it didn't result in anybody booking the free consultation for our mystery shop. So while it was a fun test and a cool test and we had great data for it, and it did meet the goal of engagement, it didn't result in any sales just yet.
Okay, so when you're doing this, so when you say the objective or the goal was engagement, like I know from setting up social ads in the past that you can set your goal ahead of time, and that will actually help the platform decide who to show it the ad to. So did you go in there and say, my goal is engagement, or was that just kind of your own goal and you told them you were looking for sales?
No. So I actually went in and set engagement. It's interesting that you asked that question because LinkedIn, their AI, when you're running ads now, provides tips, right, on the ads that you're running. And their AI kept saying like, hey, you should probably run a lead ad. And we want to, and we are now. But in the beginning, we really just started with engagement because we wanted to start seeing who we were getting in front of, and as far as like job titles and companies. And what we found was LinkedIn was actually really good at a broad match for the particular people that we were trying to target. So we were happy about that. But we wanted it to be more of a full funnel campaign where we're starting early with like awareness and then engagement. So we did awareness, we did engagement, and now we'll be moving into those lead type ads to see if we get any sales. I will say though, here's something interesting. Even though we didn't get any sales for that particular mystery shop, which was the only one that we kind of ran for sales, right? Since it was a digital product. What happened while we were running these ads? You brought up Brooke Bites earlier, which is a video that I put out on LinkedIn every Thursday. And it's essentially just social care tips, right? I'm literally trying to be helpful about this service that we have in the hopes that someone will reach out. So as we were running these ads, about a month in, 30 days in, I got an email on LinkedIn from someone in South Africa who saw those Brooke Bite videos, watched a bunch of them, and then reached out and asked about a virtual training for her team in South Africa. The fact that she's not connected to anybody that I know, she's in South Africa, which I don't really have a big presence there. My guess is, even though I can't directly attribute that email to this job, I think it came from probably some of the engagement or the impressions that LinkedIn thought leadership ads sent us. And by the way, this is like a $15,000 job I just booked. So,
it did pay for itself.
It's already paid for itself and then some. Right. So, and I don't know if it'll always stay this way. It's so cheap. I mean, we're spending, that one campaign for the mystery shop was like $70, but I think at most, and we've done the like minimum of the $15, all that kind of stuff you have to do on LinkedIn because it is more expensive. But we've only paid like a few $100s for each campaign.
And how much targeting are you allowed? Because I have yet to do the thought leadership ads. I was definitely planning on doing it this summer. I'm falling a little bit behind as a way of kind of ramping up towards Agents of Change.
Yeah.
And I wanted for the conference, Agents of Change, not the podcast. And because we tend to attract more of a local audience for the in-person events, which makes sense, I wanted to make sure that the ads were only showing in New England, say, or even northern New England, where we feel there's more than enough people to fill up our conference hall. But, spending money on people from Texas doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, even though they should come. But chances are it's a little bit of a far flight for them. So are there that same level of targeting options with thought leadership ads that you find in other typical ads?
There are. So you still have those options. And we started with a much narrower audience when we first started running the awareness campaigns. And what we found was once we went broader, we actually saw better results. For you and your specific use case, I think that's smart just because you're wasting money, right? So I would still try it. But I love that you brought up the Agents of Change conference because I think for events, this is such a cool way to sponsor your speakers. So if you have an amazing keynote or somebody that has a large following who's going to be speaking at Agents of Change, Flight could sponsor that individual on LinkedIn and run ads through that individual's account for the Agents of Change conference to help fill seats, right? I think that's such a layup way to use thought leadership ads. Brands that work with thought leaders or influencers, obviously they could come up for a strategy for boosting the creative content of that influencer that supports their brands, products, or services. And then if you have clients who have large followings on LinkedIn, asking them to do some sort of testimonial post for you and then sponsoring that through the person from the brand. I think those are 3 amazing use cases. So I'm actually really excited to see if you run some for AOC, because I think that is something that will do very well.
All right, let's walk through this. So let's use our mutual friend and agency cohort, Andy Crestodina, right? So He's always posting incredible content on LinkedIn. So what would be the right way to approach this? Should I just get something that he's posted and then we basically boost it as a thought leadership ad? Do I ask Andy to create something specific about his presentation that then I say, would you mind posting that to LinkedIn? And then we'll treat it as a thought leader ad? How might we approach that?
I love that. Yeah. So if it were me, I would go to Andy and say, look, we'd love to run these sponsored thought leadership ads through LinkedIn with you. That means you have to accept us. So what happens is you send a request from the Flight Media page to Andy. He would accept it. And then, yes, exactly what you said for the second part. I would have him write one of his posts talking about what he's going to present at Agents of Change, and then make sure that somewhere within that post or even in that first comment area, he's posting a link to where people can buy tickets and encouraging them to sign up. And then you can boost that post. Okay, so let's talk about the negative side real quick since we're giving this scenario. LinkedIn, these are new, and I'm hoping LinkedIn will change this, but LinkedIn's really funny about the types of content you can sponsor through Andy for Flight. So you can't do a LinkedIn newsletter, which I'm like, hello, LinkedIn, that's like low-hanging fruit for them. Like, I don't understand why they wouldn't let you run. Anyways, you can't do articles that are included in newsletters. You can't do celebrations. You can't do documents. You can't do polls. You can't do carousel posts with multiple images. And you can't do re-shared posts. So yes, the best bet is to have Andy just a text-only post with that link. And I would maybe even put it like in the first comment section.
Wait, text only? We can't even do like videos
you
or
could do
photos?
an image. You could do a video, but not multiple. And what we noticed in our video ads is they didn't do as well as the text only post. This could be different. We're still testing. But then once he does that, you sponsor it. And Andy has a large following on LinkedIn. So hopefully what would happen is people would sign up after seeing his posts. Some of his followers who are in the Northeast would see it. They would see that link. They would click through and sign up.
All right. That sounds awesome. All right. I want to shift gears a little bit because we did talk a little bit about your Brooks Bites. So as you mentioned, it's a Thursday post. You do a video post on LinkedIn, very informational, very helpful. Tell me a little bit about where this idea came from, what kind of content you're posting, and then any other things that are kind of helping you reach your B2B audience.
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we were together at Social Media Marketing World in not this year, but in last year. So what's this year? 2023. We were there together. And that's when Pat Flynn did the closing keynote. And Pat Flynn was talking about Pokemon, and he was talking about all these videos that he does. But essentially what we've been hearing from people like Pat and other people for several years now is that we really need to be doing video. And when our mastermind group that we just mentioned went to MakeCon, which is the marketing and AI conference last year, we heard even a lot more that because of AI and the way zero-click content works and SEO is going to change, that you really needed to get your face out there, right? So say yes to all the podcasts, but also how can you get your face out there? So at that point, I knew that I really needed some kind of video strategy, even though I hate video. So what I decided to do was a 2-minute or less tip on social care. And I created these Brooke Bite posts. And I used Descript. If you haven't heard of Descript or don't use it, it is an amazing tool. And essentially I filmed right on my computer. I filmed an intro and music that I all put together in Descript. I saved them all as templates. So literally I just filmed this little 2-minute tip every week. And then I pop in the other stuff that I added as the intro, outro bumpers. I set it to music. And then I publish that every week on LinkedIn, but also on YouTube. LinkedIn's done far better for me than YouTube. But essentially, those tips are just like my best advice that I can give for anybody who's trying to implement social media customer care through their company or brand. And then, like I mentioned, that's how Solange in South Africa found me. And we got this $15,000 training deal. But I think, honestly, it was a mixture of the organic video and the thought leadership ads together, even though I can't prove it.
Right. So when you're putting this content together, obviously you sell customer experience through social media, the support group. So you're giving good advice, you're helping people out, but obviously you're also establishing yourself as an expert. Are there calls to action at the end of the videos or in the text description, or do you just kind of hope that people find you?
I try to do a call to action in every single post. It doesn't always work. This is something I'm also getting better at. I'm not an aggressive salesperson. And I feel like with the times we're in right now and have been in for the past couple of years, I need to be more aggressive. So what I tried to do was talk about something related to some sort of call to action within the video or within the script, which is like, hey, if you like this subject, read more about this in my book. Or, hey, if you loved this talk about tagging and social listening, make sure you download our free social listening workbook. So it's not always like book a call with me to sell you on a service. It's like little tiny calls to action. And every now and again, I will say like, hey, you should book a free chat with me. It's totally free. There's no strings attached. But for 30 minutes, I can help you understand like what's going right or what's going wrong with your program. So yes, I try to do a call to action every time. I haven't gotten any like definitive bites on those calls to action other than Solange, but I'll take it.
Well, and the other thing is on organic, sometimes it's hard to tell. Like some things that we do don't actually get us business for 3 months, 6 months, or even a couple of years. I see this all the time with the Agents of Change conference. When I ask clients like, hey, how'd you hear of us after we've, signed them up? And they're like, oh, I've been attending AOC for years. So all of these things definitely help. And I believe you actually take the video that you've created, even though you're uploading it to YouTube, you upload it natively to LinkedIn, correct?
Yes, because as you know, if you play around on LinkedIn, they've recently reduced the imagery and reach that comes along with posting any links that lead people outside of LinkedIn. So like every other social channel, they want you to spend your time within LinkedIn. So I upload those videos natively to LinkedIn. Once you do that, it'll let you know when the video is uploaded, and then it gives you the ability to edit the captions within the video. And I always recommend that you do that because every time it calls me Brooke Ellis instead of Brooke Sellas. So just always check those captions, make sure you update those. And then obviously if you have that call to action, that comes through in the caption as well.
Yeah, I'm using a tool called Kapwing, which is a lot like Opus Clip. So I actually added my own dynamic captions. So I always shut off the LinkedIn captions automatically because I just find that the ones done by Kapwing are just far superior. So
Kapwing.
Right there.
How do you even spell that? Kapwing.
Kapwing. And a lot of people love Opus Clip, and I tried it, and I just found that there's more tools on the Kapwing side, where Opus Clip was nice in the fact that it was all automatic, but then I couldn't do much once the clip was created. And maybe I just don't know how to use Opus Clip, but for Kapwing, it was like I had a full suite of tools, which I like messing around and kind of working on the details. But
that's actually really good advice. That's good. You just gave me advice. So I can do that in Descript. I can add those.
That I don't know. I have
can. I can. I know I can. You're giving me a tip by saying I should probably add those right into Descript, and then I don't have to worry about the LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
And then I'm just creating more work for myself. Anyway, see, this is why you need to listen to Rich's show, because he literally just gave me a tip. But
this is what you need a VA for. Okay. Anyways, let's keep moving on, because I know that you have a LinkedIn newsletter. And what kind of content do you share in the newsletter, and how has that worked in your overall LinkedIn strategy?
Yeah, so we have a blog post. We've had a blog post forever and a day, and we always publish weekly. And if you are listening and you have a blog, I am sure you are going through the same thing that I am, which is like people just don't read blogs anymore, or at least not like they used to. So the commenting on blogs has gone by the wayside. It's all spam now. So what I do, it's really a very simple strategy, is every Wednesday we publish our blog to our website. But then every Friday, I take that exact same blog and I copy and paste it into a LinkedIn article for our newsletter there and send it out. It's literally the exact same piece. The only thing that changes is at the end of the newsletter, I have a call to action that varies based on the blog post. So some of them are like buy my book. Some of them are download the free social listening workbook again. Some of them are join this free webinar we have. Some of them are book a consultation with me. And I send those out, and that's where I get all the traction on my blog post now, is actually on LinkedIn with my network there. I think we have been doing this for about a year now. And I think we have close to 1,700 subscribers on our blog on LinkedIn. And the great thing is it not only goes out on LinkedIn to all of the people who follow you, it also sends them an email. So they do get it in their inbox when it comes out on LinkedIn.
All right. And how aggressive are you pushing this out? Like, yeah, LinkedIn puts it, but I also know from looking at my own connection requests that about every third one is talking about I should subscribe to somebody's newsletter. Are you actively going in and suggesting to your connections that they subscribe to your newsletter?
Not as much as I should be. B Squared Media, we have like reoccurring posts that do that often, but I don't do it personally for my page as much as I should. So That's another win for you, giving me a tip that I should probably put a little more stock into, like once a month, asking people to subscribe to my newsletter through me personally on LinkedIn. And then hopefully LinkedIn will update thought leadership ads, because I feel like LinkedIn newsletters will be such a great place to run those thought leadership ads. Like, so say, for your example, Rich, you had Agents of Change coming up. Maybe you emailed Andy to talk about something. You could then use that LinkedIn newsletter to run a thought leadership ad. Like, to me, if I were LinkedIn, this is like a no-brainer. I'm not sure why they don't do it, because people aren't leaving their platform to read LinkedIn newsletters. So hopefully that will change. But yeah, I need to post about it more often myself.
All right. Now, when it comes to frequency of posting and what kind of content posts, have you found the perfect solution, or is it a constantly moving thing where one year it's one thing and the next year it's another thing? What are you doing now when it comes to consistency and frequency, or is that just not part of your plan?
So it's interesting. If you really pay attention to LinkedIn, they tell you exactly what to do. So under discovery, which is a part that you'll see on your LinkedIn profile, they're always giving you tips and tricks. And so under discovery, all the time, you'll see something that says people who post to LinkedIn one time a week get 4x more reach than people who don't, which is great, right? So that's telling you right there, you should at least post one time a week. For me personally, I want to do better than 4x. So I post Monday through Friday, usually without fail every day. I don't post on the weekends because we've tested the weekends and they just don't do as well as the weekdays, but that's what's happening on our side. I always tell people to test. And then what I found for me, our posts that spark conversation, which is our whole mantra at B2B Media, think conversation, not campaign, tend to do very well. Well, guess what popped up in my discovery? I have screenshots of all of this, by the way, so I can back it up with LinkedIn proof. It literally said in my discovery, posts that spark conversation on LinkedIn tend to do better as far as engagement. So I try to do text only posts because of what I found in trying to have more of those conversations. That text only posts for me, for whatever reason, tend to work far better than any other type of posts. Obviously, they've reduced the reach of outside links on LinkedIn. So instead of having that big, pretty picture like you used to, that's been shortened. And I don't use pictures that much. I see people who do that and have images, but for me, for whatever reason, my text only based posts do the best, and my text only based personal posts do far better than my text only based professional posts.
Lot to break down in that. So, or unpack there. So one thing I'm wondering is, when you say they perform better, what is the KPI that you're using to decide that they've done better? Is
engagement.
Straight up engagement. It's just
straight up engagement.
Okay.
If you were to ask me, engagement is the number one social media metric, right? I don't care about impressions because that just means eyeballs. I want to know that people saw my content and they did something about it. So engagements matter most to me. Conversation, what you'll see on LinkedIn is, if you'll notice, the posts that go haywire have a ton of conversation happening in the comments. So what I try to do is put out a post that will spark conversation. And then if Rich comes along and writes a comment as quickly as I can, so I'm checking LinkedIn often, I will respond back to Rich. Usually with a lot of my friends on LinkedIn, we'll get some dialogue going. And once that dialogue starts happening, you'll notice all of a sudden that your post starts getting a lot more engagement on it. And some people won't comment, but for the people who do, they're giving you that boost into other people's feed. So engagement is always the top post that I would be looking at or looking for. And here's what LinkedIn said. LinkedIn actually, in the discovery part of my profile the other day, told me that if I post one time per week, leave 3 comments per week on other people's posts, and contribute to one of their contributor articles every week, that I would do better with my profile visibility. So now I know that every week I'm going to post my 5 times a week. Again, maybe it's the one for you. I know that commenting on other people's posts, their metric is 3 other posts within a week. I do more than that. But again, that's the bare minimum. And then one contributor contributor article every week also helps with profile visibility. So at least go do one of those. I know they seem stupid, but LinkedIn's literally telling you what to do to have your profile get found.
All right. So I have a couple questions. One is these post-contributor article. What is that exactly? Maybe I know it and I just don't know it by that name.
So LinkedIn has AI kind of come up with these, what they're called contributor articles. And basically you're allowed to contribute to them. Yeah. So it'll have like different sections and you'll be able to go in as Rich, like let's say it's SEO. You're really good at SEO. You know how to answer these questions. You can come in and leave your own advice on that particular post on SEO. Once you do it enough and enough people like or engage with the contribution that you've made, you can get a badge on your LinkedIn profile that says you're an expert at. So I currently have the customer experience expert because
top voice.
Yeah, because I try to answer all of the contributor articles for customer experience specifically. I used to have customer experience in social media, but I let social media fall off. Again, this is just me. You can have as many of those as you want, but I feel like it diluted the way it showed up. So I knew that I only wanted one to show up. And so therefore, I'm going after customer experience versus social media.
And I believe at this point in time, at least, you can only have one, because there was one point where I was posting to a lot of these contributor articles and it said you can either be a top content voice or a top marketing voice, but you can't do both. So I believe they may have changed that and it's one or the other. So, and then if you don't keep up with it, as I discovered,
yes,
you lose your top voice. And
That's
I'll tell you, I have not been able to get back my top voice, but all right, that's on my goal list for this week.
So that is why I think they literally, again, they're telling you what to do. That's why one a week, according to them. So if you want to be outside of the norm, try for 2 a week or 3 a week. And then, yeah.
So I want to get back to your thing about comments and engagement. So what have you found? You mentioned that for you, at least, text-based posts spark the most engagement. But have you found that within that milieu of posts that there is certain things like asking a question, or you mentioned personal versus professional? What is it that you found is the secret sauce for sparking that engagement?
Yeah. So I'll say I always try to go with what I call a lead in. So I'm like, help me solve a debate. Yes or no. What would you do if? It's leading because I'm leading people by telling them right away without telling them directly that I need them to give me an answer, that I'm looking for a conversation or an answer or advice from them. Advice needed, exclamation point. And then I say something. Those always do the best because listen, we love ourselves, right? We think we're the smartest people in the room. Well, I don't, but a lot of us do. And we love giving other people advice. So when you ask for that advice, typically you will get it. And then the personal type post, I don't get super personal on LinkedIn, but for an example, I went to my sister's bachelorette party in Vegas this past weekend. And before I left, I posted a picture of the weather because it was 118 degrees every single day. And I said something like, pray for me. Not only is it super hot, but I'm going to hang out with these really young girls in Vegas. I'll be lucky if I make it back alive or something like that. And that got engagements within 4 figures, whereas most of my posts will get engagements within 3 figures, right? So the other posts that do well are obviously those lead-ins for asking for questions, but then I'll also just give advice. I've been using the hashtag entrepreneur thoughts, but I'm just giving what I would call entrepreneur leadership influencer thoughts around what it means to be a business owner and how hard it is, and talking about who you should include in your network and how you should network. They're just musings from me, but those typically do very well.
All right. Now I know your in-house team is primarily you and Alex, and then you have a lot of contractor workers. So I don't know if this is the right question for you, but what advice do you have for getting your team involved on LinkedIn as opposed to just you? Because I love LinkedIn like you do. I just find it to be the only social media platform that doesn't make me feel ill after using it. So, and I've kind of encouraged members of my team as themselves to post on LinkedIn, as well as we do some stuff for Flight and for Agents of Change. Yeah. What recommendations would you have for people to get their team involved and maybe work together to grow their LinkedIn presence?
It's all Again, I'm not like a super aggressive salesy person. So what I started doing when I really started concentrating on LinkedIn about a year and a half ago is when I would put out a post that I thought was really good, I would share it into the group message where all of our team members exist. And I would just say, hey, I posted this thing on social care today, which a lot of our team are CMGRs, our community managers. So they work in social care. So I said, if you're up to it, go give it some love. And I did that enough times that I think what happened was I got into their LinkedIn feed because they were engaging with me, but I was asking for them to. But now I've noticed after doing that for a few months, again, they must have hit that engagement button. So now I'm shown in their feed and organically they'll come over and comment or engage with the post that we have. But if it's a big post, again, I still make the ask. So I think it's like less of forcing people to do it and more asking them to engage with you and making sure that the content relates to them in some way, right? So I'm not asking them to go comment on that post about Vegas, but I know that the majority of our team works in social care. So when I post something about social care, they find it interesting.
Makes a lot of sense. Brooke, this is great. I've got so many to-dos. I feel like I need to cut the interview short and just start to get to work. If people want to learn more about you or about B Squared, where can we send them?
You can Google search Brooke Sellas, BROOKE SELLAS. It's like the easiest Greek name on the planet. I think I'm the only Brooke Sellas on the planet that I've found so far. Or you can just go to bsquared.media and find out all about B Squared. And that's where you can find me as well.
Great. And we'll have those links and links to Brooke's LinkedIn account as well, profile account, in the show notes. So be sure you check them out. Brooke, always great seeing you. And thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks so much for having me. It's always fun to be with you.
Man, that Brooke knows her stuff. For a full transcript of today's interview, or if you just want to get the highlights and a summary of everything that we talked about, you can find all of that at our website at theagentsofchange.com/546. And while you're at the website, make sure you check out the conference details, our speakers, our agenda, and those deep dive workshops, and make sure you grab your ticket while there's still time. And again, if you get it during the month of August, you can save $100 off your ticket, and you can save an additional $25 by using the discount code AOCP. And I look forward to meeting you in October in Portland, Maine for the Agents of Change.
Don't miss another thrilling episode of the Agents of Change podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform.